Do y'all remember a couple months ago, people were all about their red and green flags? A few months ago, I made a list of red and green flags that you should look for at a nail salon. I've actually been wanting to do this video for a while, like things that you should look for when you go to a salon, like bad things, good things, things you should look for. But I just didn't know how to like title it concisely. This was perfect. So here we go. So some of these are going to be like explanation needed. Like some, once you get an explanation, you're like, oh, that totally makes sense. Green flag, let's go. Or like, oh God, no.
Step away from the nail file.
Okay, so the first thing we're gonna talk about is decanted products. So if you go into a nail salon and they're using acrylic, monomer, gel, whatever, and it's in a ceramic container, it's in a glass. Most monomer is going to be decanted into a glass, but a lot, like when I was using monomer, I would pour it generally in front of my client, or like it was right behind me if they wanted to see it. But you know, acrylic could be decanted into a ceramic container. Gel could be put into just a pot without a label. Those are all possibilities. Now, this could be purchased in bulk, and instead of taking out a tub of acrylic powder and working from that, which would just be obscene, it could be decanted into a little container. Same with a tub of gel. Take out this big tub of gel that's not easy to work with. You put it into a little container that's much easier to work with on your desk. However, these products could also be decanted because they're illegal. It could be MMA acrylic. I have a whole video all about that, linked always in my description box and up here. And so if you can't read the label, you don't know it's illegal. So if you come across that, ask. Can I see the original container that came in? I have no problem when my clients ask me that. No problem at all. You want to see the containers that this monomer came in? You want to see the original gel container? Whatever, yeah, have at her. Of course, you can see it. I even keep them, if I empty them, if I use the last bits of it and I don't have a replacement for it, I will keep that, which happens because I'm forgetful. I will keep that until I get a replacement for it. Just in case somebody wants to see it. The next red flag, which could have an explanation, is having a shellac manicure on their menu. Ask them what brands they're using. If they say, I'm using C&D, oh, then absolutely, then they are doing shellac manicures and it makes sense to be on their menu. If they say they're using anything but C&D, so if they say OPI, that is not shellac. If they say gelish, that is not shellac. If they say any brand other than C&D, it is not a shellac manicure, and they obviously don't understand the products they're using, and I would not go to a nail tech who doesn't understand the products they're using. Shellac is a gel polish manicure. Not all gel polish manicures are shellac. I have multiple videos on that as well. Next red flag. If you see them or suspect that they are reusing files, and I'm not talking glass or stainless steel files, which can be properly disinfected and sanitized. I'm talking foam board files. They are disposable for a reason. I know some of them say they're reusable. They're not reusable. It is very easy to cut people with hand files. Then you've got their DNA on the file. No, that is not hygienic, and that would be my first red flag, that this nail tech or this nail salon is not a hygienic nail salon, and I would stop right there. If that nail file looks like it's been used, other than just being prepped so that the edges aren't sharp, if there's files on the center of it, if it looks dusty, if it doesn't look new, no. I go back and forth between taking my file right out of the drawer and prepping it right in front of my client so that they can see it's a brand new file, and also having it already prepped so that when they come in, they can just sit down and we're good to go. I go back and forth. If it's a new client, I absolutely will prep in front of them, take it out of the drawer, nice, clean, fresh file, and prep the sides. If it's a regular that I've had for years, then I'll just have it pre-prepped and ready to go, because they know that I'm using fresh files. They know. Do their tools look clean? Do they look like they've been used on the client right before you? Slash, did you see them put those tools aside or clean them or do something before you sat down in the chair and they used those tools on you. I'm talking like cuticle pushers, e-file bits, those sort of things. Did they get a new set for you? Did you see them clean and disinfect the ones they just used? If not, same as the file. Same as the file. Do not go. Do not continue. Danger ahead. If you can visibly see that they look clean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are clean, but like, it's a good start. So at least if they're visibly clean and you don't know if a client if they didn't clean between clients, but if there's gunk on them, no way, not a chance. I realize that you're not always going to be able to tell if a nail tech is using a separate implements for you or cleaning them in between. Ask them about what they're doing in between clients. Ask them how they're cleaning. Ask them how they're disinfecting these items. I have no problem. If a client wants to see that, I'll walk them through it. Another hygiene, sanitation red flag: if you're going in for dip powder nails and they take your little fingy and dip it directly into that pot of dip powder, into acrylic, directly into it, it's the name brand, everything's on it, close it back up when they're done. No, inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
A lot of people think that because the dip powder is just that, it's powder and there's no liquid involved, that it can't hold bacteria, but your fingers have oils on them. There could be a cut, there could be loose tissue, there could be all sorts of things that by dipping a finger in there, all those little germies, all that moisture, all those oils are touching little bits of the powder and staying in there. And then the next person's putting their finger in there, and then the person before them's germies are touching them, and they're all mixing together in that pot of powder. Is it spreading as fast as if there was a liquid in there? No, but it's still happening. It should either be decanted out, like we already mentioned, into a smaller container that you can just dip your finger in, and then they're gonna toss it away, not put it back in the original container. Or sprinkling it over your nail, letting it fall onto a paper towel or into a container or something, and then tossing away what has fallen off of your nail. My suggestion would be, if you're unsure if it's a new salon or a new nail tech, I would ask them up front instead of going through half the process and the prep and everything and then seeing that they're doing this and being like, oh, never mind. But if you get to that point, just ask them to either maybe open a fresh container, because like, who knows how many fingers have been dipped in that pot. So if this does happen, ask them to open a fresh container of that color or the product that they're using. If they won't do that, for your own health and safety, I would leave. And the final red flag for this video: shockingly low prices. So if you're out and about and you're walking around the mall or on the street or maybe Walmart and you see prices that remind you of 2003, I would question things. If your nail tech hasn't raised their prices, especially in the last few years, but like if they haven't raised their prices in the last 10 years, that's a red flag. Now, it's entirely possible if they're an independent nail tech, they may not feel comfortable raising their prices. They may, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people don't raise their prices, like independent techs. So if that's the case, tell them they should raise their prices. If you're their client, be that person, be their hype man, tell them to raise their prices. If this is like a big corporation, if it's inside Walmart and you've been going there for years and the prices haven't raised, I would start to question that. And like I mentioned, if you go to a new place and the prices are abnormally low or like you haven't seen in 20 years, I would be concerned. If those prices are that low, there are a number of things to be concerned about. Like I mentioned before, illegal products or just like really cheap, gross products. And I don't want to hear about countries where gross products come from, because they come from all over the world. So check your biases. They could be skimping out on proper hygiene and sanitation in order to save money to keep those prices going. They may not be paying their nail techs never mind a living wage, but even a minimum wage. What you want to look for are nail salons and nail techs where their prices make sense, where you know they can afford their products, you know they can afford the proper hygiene and sanitation practices, and you know they can afford to pay their employees or pay themselves a proper wage. I also just wanted to go over quickly a few things that are not red flags, despite what some people may think. Race, not a red flag. Literally any race can do nails. Language barrier, not a red flag. I understand it can be inconvenient and you may not necessarily get exactly what you want because not everybody can understand each other, but it's not a red flag. Language barrier does not make them a bad nail tech. Just means you can't communicate as easily with each other. That's all. Gender, again, anybody can do nails. And weirdly enough, weight. Fat people can do nails. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know where this came from that fat people can't do nails. I don't know, but yes, we can. Obviously, a lot of the green flags would just be like the opposite of the red flags, like dirty files, red flag, clean files, green flag, obviously. But just something else to add, if you're ever confused about like if your nail tech is using clean files, if they're using fresh implements, what their sanitation practices are like, if you're ever unsure, ask either in person, in DM, like however you feel most comfortable contacting or talking to your nail tech, ask them. And the biggest green flag would be they would be excited to tell you or to show you. If a client came in and I already had the file prepped and they asked me, oh, do you mind like getting a new one? I don't know if you've used that one. Hell yes, I will, and I will use this one for myself. That's all. All right, so those are the red and green flags to look out for in nail salons when finding nail techs. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Leave your nail salon red and green flags down below. I'd love to hear them. And you can subscribe if you're into nails and nail things. Heck yes, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!